Well, hey, didn't see you there. It's been a while. Have a little performance anxiety, you might say, having not done much of this at all in the past forever. But here we are again. Poor Boy Eats. Forever. We're back. How do I even do this? What am I? What am I doing? Obviously, I had a lot of thoughts or I wouldn't have whipped the camera out. But now I've got a camera in my face and I'm walking around my new place. And that's weird. YouTube is a strange thing, isn't it? What are we doing? What is this? I look like I'm balding, but it's just I've got the same shitty hairline that I've always had. It's not gotten any worse. It's just always been bad. Anyone who knows me can attest to that. Not that I'm trying to defend my hairline. Anyways, Poor Boy Eats. Here we are. We're poor again. Isn't that just the way the cookie crumbles? How did we get here, you might ask? What happened? We stopped being poor for a bit. Just a little while. Just enough to get a taste of a lower middle class income. Wasn't that nice? Wasn't that special? But life finds a way to make you poor again. Tends to be how things go. Hasn't been all bad. I'm debating whether or not this is the poorest I have ever been as an adult. It's hard to say, because there's different factors that go into this. I certainly have actually the most debt I've ever had right now, which is, negative money. So my bank account is basically empty, and I have negative money. So that's certainly that's real poor shit, That's not like before it was like low living expense, no debt, just very low income, nothing coming in, but not a lot to pay off. Now it's like that level of brokenness where it comes in and it goes out, comes in and goes out immediately. That's like real adult brokenness when you've made certain decisions that you are now paying the piper for, one could say. Not that I think I've made entirely bad decisions. It's just sometimes you're lucky and sometimes you're not, Anyways, long story short. So the last time we were here, was 2020. 2020 was a great time. So these things have all gone through phases, really like every 4 or 5 years. There's an ebb and flow of how broke Victor seems to be and how motivated I seem to be. And the more broke I become, the more motivated I become to throw myself in front of a camera again. Because what do I have to lose, I've got nothing going on. Well, I have a lot going on. That's not entirely true. I have technically more going on than ever. I feel like I'm diving into a Trumpism there. I have the most going on. I might be broke, but I've got a lot going on. I've got irons in the fire. As I used to say, I always do. There's always irons in the fire. You're always setting up for a payoff eventually. Now we're in the in-between again. So like 2016, say, that's like starting off like fresh out of college, absolutely broke, making like maybe $700 a month if I was lucky, maybe 400. Slowly built from there, right? Building the career in film, figuring things out, still taking money from my dad here and there, being a broke boy, being broke as shit. Building up to maybe 2018, I move in with hope. Things are going okay, maybe making $1,000 a month, but the living expenses are so low. This is peak Poor Boy Eats era. And then somewhere 2018, 2019, things turned around and I actually started to have like a real low income, like film became a viable full-time job, Not making buku, not making bank, but it became a viable full-time career, I've never had a backup job. I've never taken a side job. I've never had a full-time job in the time that I've been out of college doing this shit. I've been very lucky and very fortunate to be able to live at a low expense and be able to do these things. That being said, 2019, great year. This is when I start being able to like really invest back into what I'm doing. There's like a leaf blower going on outside right now. Luckily, I have a pretty decent microphone, so I'm not too worried about it. Classic YouTuber mic shit. But who cares? This is a Poor Boy Eats. No one cares. Anyways, so doing really good. Like 2019, really good. Starting to make investments in gear, that kind of thing. So 2019, I had a gig that was like doing directing and cinematography for industrial corporate films. Super boring, but paid very, very well and was very consistent. So what happens when you start to do consistent work in this business is that like you start saying no to everyone who's not in that bubble of consistency. And so in 2019, like I had that going, and then the company that I work for got bought out, and they eviscerated all of it. It completely went away. So it was like the last 3 months of 2019, it was like me and the boys hitting the grindstone, like trying to find the next thing, you know, doing little jobs here and there, kind of treading water. I made enough money in the summer to kind of last, but it was really starting to be dire. And then the pandemic hit, and it was a 1-2 punch of just fuck you. So then I'm on unemployment for basically the next year, you know, as my entire industry crumbled and fell apart because of the lockdowns. You guys all remember that. Wasn't that an interesting time? Wasn't that a little crazy? We all had to fucking lock down and stuff. People don't seem to remember anymore, but I remember. I was broke and I was at home, and I started doing a lot of YouTube. We did a Patreon. You guys really helped save me in that situation. Not that we made a ton on Patreon, but we made enough to get by, and I did a month where I did a video every single month. And these are the sort of things that being broke as fuck motivates you to do, you know? Hence why I'm back here now. So what happened? It's 2025. So 2020, obviously shit year for everyone. Total dog shit. Bouncing back into 2021, things really started to pick up because I think everyone got fucked so hard in 2020. This leaf blower is insane. Can you hear it? It's not even registering on my level, so I think I'm fine. Okay. So 2020, total disaster. 2021, everything picks back up. 2021 to 2023 were prime years for me. Excellent, excellent years. 2023 was absolutely amazing. Making buku. That's where I think I started to make, I don't know if I did like a Rich Boy Eats or something, but I was thinking along those lines. Dug out of poverty, doing good. And that's when I started investing a lot of money into equipment. This was not a bad idea, and still is not a bad idea. It's just that the way things have gone, it's led to an unfortunate temporary circumstance. That's my copium. That's what I'm gonna go with. That's, you know, we'll see how it all pans out. But I started investing everything into gear, partially because when you start to have a higher income as a freelancer, you need to, you know, take on certain amounts of expenses, gets your costs down in terms of taxes and shit. And me and Hope file taxes together. So having a combined income that gets too high, you start to have to pay a lot in taxes. 2023, I did have to pay a shitload of taxes for that year. Not catastrophic because I spent a lot of money. But so average from 2021 to 2023, I wanna give you perspective on this. I spent $20,000 to $30,000 a year on equipment. So in total, my cinematography package, everything I have, is around $100,000 of shit, you know? So that's what I'm sitting on right now. And it's like, during financial success, that's totally fine, you know? It's a smart investment. And now I actually have everything I need, you know? Like I have everything that a small videography company needs to operate. And like, that's how I make my money. Like I've made good, smart investments for this industry. Now, what had happened was, so 2024 rolls around. The first few months of 2024 were actually the first, or the best starting months, I think, of any year in my career so far. It was fantastic. But during that time, there were writer strikes and actor strikes and all of this pressure in the film industry on corporations and shit, which is good. Like, the strikes are good. They were demanding reasonable things. We all have a crisis coming with AI, taking away writers' jobs and making everything kind of dog shit. And that's kind of what the strikes were building towards, part of what they were all about. And streaming companies have really just fucked everyone. And that's part of how we end up in the landscape that we are today, is that streaming companies have been going on a model where they're just taking in revenue. This is the whole tech industry strategy, is they just take in money, and they do not create profit at all. But all of these companies think they can spend all this money and then they'll be the one left and they'll beat everyone out and then they'll be the most profitable and they'll be like a monopoly, And it just isn't real, and it's not happening, and it's just been this lie that all these people have bought into. Meanwhile, because they bought into that and all the money went into that, they fucked TV, they fucked the movie industry. It's just streaming now, and now streaming, because they have not been making any money, is cutting, dumping all of it. So because the streaming companies have all of the power right now, when the strikes happen, they go, well, we don't give a fuck because we're fucking evil, so we'll just move all of our productions overseas. So for the past year and a half or two, most movies and TV shows are not being made in the US anymore. They're being made overseas. And there's just a lot fewer things being made in general because the money's not there, and they're not dumping money into productions like Netflix used to do and just make, crank shit out. They're making more animated stuff and foreign stuff and Korean K-dramas, You see it all the time. We're not making American TV dramas at the same capacity that we were just a couple of years ago anymore. They're shifting gears. So what happens is the people at the very top of this industry, now they aren't doing the high level work that they were previously doing. So they take the work a step below. And so the people that were doing that work take another step below, and it goes down until you get to the very, very bottom of the totem pole, which is me, And the people that I work with, particularly people in film in Virginia, have been in dire states. But then I work with professionals from all around the country. Everything you hear from everyone is the industry is fucked. We're all fucked. No one's got any work, yada, yada, yada. Lots of griping, lots of bitching, lots of moaning. And this has been going on since summer 2024. Really started to see signs in the spring. In the summer, it was clear, okay, something's happening. Throughout the fall, because usually, I made a ton of money in the spring. In the summer, I wasn't too worried. In the fall, usually you bounce back, And I bounced back a little bit, but not even close to the way it was before. This is inside baseball for all of you, I know. And I'm going on a big ramble, and it might sound like cope and justification, but I think this stuff is interesting, and people in the industry don't talk about these things enough to the outside to give people a perspective, and I think it gives me a particular perspective on the way that the US economy is going, where it's okay, my industry is fucked. What other industries are fucked, How is this going to affect everything else? Particularly, I think about the prosumer tech industry that's really taken off when people like me are spending tens of thousands of dollars on equipment. And now people like me are fucked. And so you see on Facebook and eBay and all these different places, people selling, and the prices get lower and lower because these things are sitting on the market and no one has any money to buy them. Hence, I have a couple lens sets that are my kind of backup stuff, and I've been trying to sell them for about 5 months, and I've put them on at a very reasonable price, and I get offers constantly asking to half that price because people will just not pay it. And before, I would have put something on and it would have sold in a couple weeks at a reasonable price, But I'm not willing to put myself in that situation where I'm just desperately trying to sell shit as cheap as humanly possible, because that is a way to fuck yourself in the future, because you're gonna need to buy that shit back. So I have in this odd sense, I have this nest egg of stuff that has theoretically held value, but because the whole industry is fucked right now, it is all unsellable and taken value. which is just another interesting aspect of how the economy works. I've gotten on a hell of a tangent. Anyway, so you see where I'm going with this. The past really 6 months have just been on a downward escalator of shit. And now it's at the point where it's like, even though I'm doing a certain level of work, like I haven't stopped working. So I took a lot of time to do free shit and creative shit because you have to start, at least in my theory, my perspective is, okay, if I'm not making money doing what I'm doing, I need to start like planting the seeds to make money next year, you know? So how do I do that? I find young directors and I work with them and you build them up and you work on yourself. You start getting better, you know, get better at what you do. Sometimes you get better at what you do by doing it frequently. To do it frequently, you need to do it for free or for cheap. So I do things very affordably for this industry or for free all the time because I would rather be doing something than nothing. And like, I'm in a fortunate situation where I have a wife who's been very supportive. And, you know, for the last few months, I've kind of entirely leaned on her. And it sucks. And it sucks that there's tons of guilt. But also, like, there's definitely a fear where most of the people I know around me are taking full-time jobs and they're leaving the industry or they're getting a full-time corporate job. And then it's like, once you've done that, it's kind of over. You know, you get into relying on that and you never come back, which sounds selfish and stupid. If Hope demanded I do it, I would do it in a heartbeat. We've had these conversations, obviously. It's good to have a support network of people around you who care about what you do. And things will get better. There's signs that they will get better, probably spring and summer this year. The spring is beginning. So I'm not direly worried about it. I'm certainly not here to e-beg, if that's the direction you think I'm going in this. I don't want anyone's money. Things will bounce back. Everything is good. It's just, I think it's very interesting, and I don't hear people talk about the ebbs and flows of life this way, where typically you just see people start broke, and then they get successful, and then they're talking about how successful they are, you know? Anyways, this is supposed to be a Poor Boy Eats, and I am supposed to make food. But I needed to explain why we're poor again, because goddamn, we are poor. I've never been broker in my life. Now, the difference is that while we are broke, I have the potential to be unbroke very quickly, because when I do get paid the full rate for what I do, I get paid a lot of money, and I can make a lot of money in a couple days, you know? Potentially, if things get back to the way they were. Or we could all be fucked in Donald Trump's economy and it could never come back and we'd never, you know, I'll never see that again and I'll just die. I'll be fucked and I'll die and I'll take a full-time corporate job, I guess, or I'll go work at Target or start driving Uber. Anyways, so if you haven't noticed, me and Hope did recently move, which is part of the process of downsizing. So one way that people get broke and then they stay broke is not taking a realistic evaluation of their circumstances and their finances and the things going on and just doing what they have been doing and just hoping it gets better and then just digging yourself in a hole, you know? I'm trying not to dig myself in a hole. The small hole that I am in, I dug last year before the financial collapse, and I just wasn't able to kind of dig out. I realize how much all of this sounds like excited copium. I'm I'm being very energetic for the content here, but these are, you know, things I've thought through a lot, and I at least kind of know what I'm doing. And I also realize how fucked I also am. But anyways, this is not me crashing out. That's different. I am optimistic and things are good. So I guess copium is another form of crash out. You see that we moved in and there is a broken window and we're still waiting on them to fix it, but this is a historic building, so they have to create like special windows and no one wants to make those windows. So yeah, so we moved. Part of downsizing, we're in a smaller space. So we bought a house in 2020. You guys know that. if you've been keeping up with us for a long time. Been living in that house. It's been cool, you know. It's a good house. It's a good neighborhood. We had talked about moving for a long time. I think if the pandemic never happened, we probably would have moved a lot sooner. I think we, you know, at the time we'd been checking out Atlanta and we thought we'd like really go away, you know. At this point, we didn't move that far. We moved to a different city in the same state. But we're definitely liking it here a lot more. And there's the potential when things pick back up for me to have more work here than I would have back where we were. I'm not using that as a justification right now because the industry is so fucked that it doesn't matter where anyone goes. You're kind of fucked regardless, quite honestly. And I feel really bad for, you know, I work with a lot of people that are like coming out of college or in college, trying to get their start. And it's like, realistically, if you're trying to get into this business right now, you're kind of fucked and you need to be very patient. You need to do shit for free. You need to do anything you can. You need to work a full-time job. So get your priorities straight in terms of the creative direction you want to go in. Don't sweat over like trying to make money doing this because you're not going to make money doing this right now. You need to have a normal job, save your money, do creative shit where you can, do shit for free. Because realistically, you will not have a career the way that we had careers before. I was at the tail end of this. It was very hard for me getting out of college versus people in like the 90s who, in the 2000s, who could get out and just have a job immediately. There used to be studios doing TV shows in the areas. And like, there is not a production happening right now in the state, you know? And there has been very few in the past year or two. And there's not rumors of them even coming. That's how bad it is right now. So like, if you think I'm gonna get out of college and I'm gonna be a production assistant on a film, there is no film for you to be a production assistant on. It doesn't exist. Unless you're very lucky or you're in the right place at the right time. If you're in New York, LA, or Atlanta already, that could be good. I would recommend, like if you're thinking of moving, you should probably move there. Just don't expect to work when you get there. Take a full-time job, start making connections, and then be ready when the work comes. That's kind of the mode we all have to be in right now is we're hunkering down because things are bad, but you need to be in the right place at the right time when things start to get better so that you can take advantage of that. And, you know, you always got to read the room and read the direction things are going in. It's got to really fucking suck to be a young person right now in America. I cannot lie. Dire shit right now. I cannot imagine getting out of college and trying to find work right now. It would suck so much ass. Anyway, so all that to say, downsizing. So I've switched my car. I had a van that was a lease before. I bought it in 2022 when the car market was fucked. Used car prices were way too high. I couldn't justify it. So I ended up in a lease. The lease price is still too high, but my logic at the time was I thought, you know, if I get an old clunker cargo van that I can afford, I would need a second car. So this was the price of the two cars combined, but way more comfortable and way more accessible. And it was a really nice car for a couple of years, but I cannot afford it anymore. So I had to get out of that lease. I've got a cargo van now. The cargo van is my daily driver. Luckily, where we live now, Hope can walk to work, so I can drive her car in the meantime. So it's like, these are strategies we're incorporating to make life a little bit easier, to bring the finances down so that we can bounce back. You have to do these things preemptively so that you don't entirely like you can't fuck yourself 100% and then try to dig out of the hole, you know? You have to say, okay, I'm in a downward slope, a steep downward slope. Let me change things about my life so that I don't get into somewhere I cannot climb out of. I can climb out right now. We're good. We just saved, I'm spending probably $600 to $700 less a month on living expenses now, just from moving, changing car, you know, canceling a bunch of subscriptions. And like, that's a much more reasonable hole to dig out of, you know? The car I could probably, if things turn back around, I could probably pay it off by the end of the year and just have no car payments, you know? That would be very nice. But that's getting ahead of myself. Things might never get better. But if things don't get better, I could survive better on a reasonable wage now. Probably have to start shooting weddings again, that kind of thing. And just take more, well, I can't say take more jobs because there are no jobs or I would be taking them. But we're making it work. Anywho, so I am very hungry, and this is a Poor Boy Eats. It's going to be a very simple one because I don't have any resources. So all that I needed to explain that we moved so I could explain that there's now like an actual like bodega downstairs because we're in an apartment now. We're on floor 5 of 5. So like I can actually like go walk places because we're in like a city, which is unbelievable because back where we lived before, you'd have to drive, I mean, at minimum 15 minutes to get anywhere, like anywhere decent. And like, I would say we had one little convenience store close by, but they didn't have tons of selection, and I would just get chicken wings because their chicken wings were good. But this one has actually a pretty robust selection of stuff, and it's like a proper little bodega. So I've been getting just like different kinds of cup noodles. I don't know if this one's any good. Some of them have been great. And I'm gonna put 2 eggs in it, and that's gonna be lunch today. I had coffee. I had one Pop-Tart. I had a banana, and now I'll have this. And that's gonna be it till dinner. And that's been going well for a few days. I've been losing weight. It's pretty good, but this costs, $2. I'm sure eggs are pretty expensive right now, but, not using a dozen eggs every time I cook this. But, yeah. We're keeping it simple. We're keeping it extra simple. I love this new place because it has really high ceilings, and as a cinematographer, that is very exciting for me and gives me lots of different things I can do. So I'm trying to like put this up on a counter so that you can see the microwave. Because I'm gonna microwave this. This is the laziest Poor Boy Eats of all time, but this is the real shit. I guess my philosophy before with Poor Boy Eats, like the point was always that I would be eating good-ish on a budget, for people who can actually cook. My videos were always hilariously disturbing. But that shit tasted good. It was a minimal amount of effort, tasted goddamn good. Now I'm just going for, I have nothing in the house, and so I'm going to eat this ramen, and that'll be fine. So, what are the instructions on this? What are we going to do? Put water in, microwave for 2 minutes, veggies and seasoning. Save the oil for later. You're getting a pretty decent ramen and it comes with a pack of oil. This is my shit. We're using autofocus now. I'm being reasonable. I used to try to be as unreasonable as possible with the way that I filmed these. But I have a smaller camera. I mean, I obviously still have the big camera, but this one's going to be a lot easier to film little vlogs with. And I'd like to get back to doing more. At least while I'm, I feel like I have time. Trying to get into better habits of like, I woke up early with hope. I went to the gym. Now I'm making content, And then, if you fill your life with enough things and you build momentum, I always have a theory of momentum. It's like you get complacent, you're not doing enough, everything starts to fall away because you just feel like, well, I don't fucking want to do. Like I'm tired, I'm doing too much with work, fuck it all, and then it all goes away, And so now I'm in the mode of like, okay, how do I welcome things back into life and actually do more because I need to do more, So I'm trying to reset the feng shui. Not that I was really like, fuck work, I don't want to work, but the universe seems to think that's what I was about. So here we are. Oh, fuck, I didn't put any eggs in there. Shit. See, I always gotta fuck something up, even when it's the simplest thing in a true Poor Boy Eats. We're gonna put 2 eggs. So we need to get our protein, boys. Now, the unfortunate side is that when you eat fucking cup ramen every day, that you're getting an absolute insane amount of sodium. I chose this one today actually because it had the least amount of sodium of the cup ramens, but that means it's probably also going to taste the worst. But you know what? We're in it for the calories right now. We're in it for the 2 eggs. We aren't wasting anything. I've still got the other Pop-Tart here I'm going to snack on. I've still got the last sips of my morning coffee that I didn't drink. We aren't wasting any of it. We're drinking all of it. Do. These chopsticks or a fork? Let's be real. Chopsticks are not reasonable for eating eggs. Okay. Gotta mix it up because the eggs will explode. I don't know if you guys know that meme. It's not a meme, it's real. Eggs explode in the microwave. It's extremely dangerous. Shout out our favorite content creator, Ann Reardon, of how to cook that. Did a great video on why that is and how insanely dangerous it is. But I also did that the other day. I put an egg in a yakisoba thing and I cooked it and then it exploded everywhere. Luckily I didn't get burned, but it's the real deal, y'all. Don't fuck around. Okay, we have 2 minutes. Let's go on a pace. I really love this new apartment we're in. It's super pretty. I've never had like a nice looking place before like this. Like we thought that the last place looked really nice because we decorated it, but now all of the same stuff that we had before looks way better in here because there's actual like natural light and brick. Here's the big camera. He's all set up on the Movi Pro gimbal son. That's a nice little guy. Another thing that I could put on eBay and it would never sell right now because the industry's fucked. Got a room in here. I think we got a really, like, this place is a very reasonable price, and I think it's probably because we have a bunch of AC units out of our bedroom window. I feel like most people would probably close these blinds, but I'm not about that vibe. I want my natural light. But yeah, these, I have a feeling in the summertime will be quite obnoxious, and there's occasionally, like, maintenance people working out here, which is extremely awkward. And then we have the broken window. That's its own experience. But our shit is looking sick. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. This is the best indication of the type of money I was making in 2023, early 2024. This is one of those extremely fancy anime statues I got Hope for her birthday. That was like, it was expensive. It was on the lower end of these anime statues, but custom expensive bullshit. These were the people blowing leaves. Some maintenance workers outside. Is that doxing myself? I don't know. Got all our posters up and shit. You know, we all the Gundams. Motherfucking Gundams of the shelf. What you know about that? The motherfucking perfect grade Zaku. Been around for 15 years. Maybe 17 years. I think 15 years. Good shit. I bought that perfect grade Zaku with money off of my first shitty job washing cars back in the day. And I did it pretty much just to get money to go to Otakon. As a spoiler brat, fuck! I spilled ramen on myself. Casualty of war. I've made a big mess already. So what happened is that the eggs congealed at the top of the thing. It just formed a solid block. And so I had to push through the block with my fork. And then that exploded liquid everywhere. Not an egg explosion, but an explosion nonetheless. I'm cleaning. These are the sounds of me cleaning the stove. Trying to keep the house very clean to reduce everyone's stress levels. I tend to be a very messy person. Wouldn't you know? So that's done. I'll probably eat that and turn this video off soon. But I'm hoping, so this was kind of, I'm trying to break the ice a little bit with content creation because I want to do some, like possibly making like a side channel, a new channel for film related stuff, because I'm at that point now where I've got a lot of shit. I could be doing reviews, you know. I should probably be doing reviews for some of my stuff because that's what people do, and I feel like I could offer, you know, an interesting sort of voice in that space. Because I'm a little more insane than most people that make reviews. Check out this. This is nuts. This is a trunk. It's like old as fuck. Got this beautiful tapestry on it. And this is where I just shove my clothes. For the longest time, I was a pile boy, you know? Where it was like, so the system at the old house that, you know, got very tiresome for people who weren't me is that I had a basket. So originally it was a 2-basket system, you know. I would have a dirty clothes basket and a clean clothes basket. I ended up getting too much clothes over time. So then it became like a primary clothes basket, a secondary clothes basket, and then clothes on the floor that were dirty. Then I modified this to, I have a dresser with minimum secondary clothes, or you know, at first it was a dresser with the secondary clothes, a hamper with clean clothes, and then dirty clothes on the floor. And then gradually over time it became basically nothing in the dresser, secondary clothes on the floor in front of the dresser, primary clothes in the hamper, and then dirty clothes on the ground behind the hamper. And this became the system. So I decided going forward, you know, like the dresser is trying to eliminate like the current system and adapt to a new system, you know. I think I want to take on a philosophy of how do we adapt, instead of replace the current system, how do we adapt the current system to something that actually functions for everyone? And so I did something that I wanted to do a very long time ago. It just never like found the right way to do it, which was just put all my clothes in a big old trunk. And so now they're still in a disorganized pile, but they're in a disorganized pile that is enclosed. And so it's not a mess, you know? So now I've got the dirty clothes in the hamper in the closet out of the way, and I've got the clean clothes in the big old trunk. And then I have some auxiliary clothes sealed in a bag under the bed. I think this system is working. I think it might be able to continue because it's the same thing, you know, just in a way that looks acceptable for most people. Because I'm 32 now, like I've gotten beyond the idea that I will like change my ways dramatically, you know? I think when you're in your 20s, in your teens, like in your teens, you can change the way you are, you know? Like you can create habits, like this is the time your brain's developing the most. You can create habits and you can change what you do, you know? I was not able to successfully do that in my teens. You try, you fail, you cope. In the 20s, there's still that feeling of like, okay, if I really try, I can still change this behavior, you know? But there's like, it's a lot of the time it's too late, unless you're really dedicated, which I am not. That is not the functionality of my mind to fixing that particular problem. So now I'm at the point of acceptance where you go, okay, how do I make this from a destructive behavior into an acceptable behavior and not, you know, like we can't keep going the way it was going. That's complacency. You can't be complacent. You got to find a new solution, but it has to work within your own mental framework. And I think this is a very acceptable way to fix the problem while still maintaining my insane mental framework. I'm not as insane and schizo as my sister is, as you may have seen from her schizo posting, but this is Victor schizo posting, where I reveal, that I still have a couple screws loose, but they're not falling out. The screws aren't falling out; they're just a little loose. My ramen's probably gonna get too soggy if I keep rambling, so I'll have to call it here. I hope you had a good time catching up. Poor boy, stay poor. Shout out to my poor boys. It gets better and then it gets worse and then it'll get better again. You have to keep believing. You have to hold out hope. You have to stay strong in Ganbare. At least, I snuck in one last trip to Japan before we went full broke, which we recapped on the channel. So, that was nice. Not doing any trips this year, probably, but see how that goes. Anywho, see ya.